Fixing my shirt. Hello, hello, hello. No, I'm a minute late for some reason. The first connection didn't take, but now we're connected. Deep breaths. A little uh hurrying, scurrying. It's the season where I can get these lovely dahlias from my neighbor's yard behind me. Thank you for being here, for joining me today. I believe Steve and Nancy and um, Tanya are going to be watching at some point. I was thrilled that when I didn't stream at my usual time last week, um, I actually ended up doing this program on Tuesday evening, 5 o'clock my time, five-ish, and Lisa joined. She happened to, that's when she comes to watch anyway, so she was there live. So that's a bonus. Thank you, thank you, thank you for being here, for joining me through Sun and Moon Yoga Studios YouTube portal, and for this time to center. And we will just start centering to this time of coming to presence, of recalibrating, restoring our sense of harmony, restoring um, a sense of, my shirt feels so uneven, um, uh, a peace of mind, perhaps, restoring perspective. So as we begin to center and get really quiet and touch into the presence, you can for yourself clarify what is your reason for being here. And it can be quite ordinary, quite non-philosophical, non-spiritual even. One of the reasons that I'm here this morning is because really had some tension in my upper back shoulder area this morning earlier, and even with just a little bit of movement, I was able to relieve that. Mm. So arriving right where we are here, but a lot of times our attention is scattered, is really taking us in a number of directions. Good morning, Steve. Thanks for offering a few letters there that I can know you're there. So our attention pulls us and almost takes us into sort of out of body experiences that perhaps this is true for you, perhaps not, as I always invite, check out, with my guidance or my suggestions, check out your own experience. This is the most the most vital, the only one that's really relevant, right? We can learn, we can argue, we can disagree, we can brainstorm with others, we can actually co-create in quite great ways. But really, the bottom line is your life force in you as it's living and seeing the world and taking it in, and knowing who you are and moving in the world with that knowledge. So coming to a still place and just arriving is so, so, so helpful for reconnecting with that fountain of our essence, of ourself. You might start to sense your breath as we slow down and gather all those threads of thought just to right here. And it's not that we leave the world around us, we're still very much in it. I would even say more effectively in it when we are more and more sensing the presence that we are. And so sensing what the breath is feeling like right now for you, how where in your body you feel its touch, its waves. What you notice as you're watching for your breath, you might notice, as I did, a little tightening in your jaw. And you might begin to notice the very solidity of your body, this vehicle that we travel through this human life in. You might notice how it's receiving the support of the solid chair, floor, couch, bed, whatever you're sitting or lying on. We'll be moving towards some movement where I'll be on my back. You might be able, quite a bit good to be on your back for it. You could be on a bed, on a couch, on the floor, seated. You could probably do it as well. So your your options are there always. And then after that bit of movement, we'll slide into silence, stillness, and really abiding as this presence. And you may have other words for it. The experience that's really more important. The words are very important. There are meaning makers, are communicators. They carry resonance as well. They carry meaning, not just make meaning, but carry meaning. But the primacy, be still and know that I am. So fundamental, and it's so easy to lose track of. And that's why, for me at least, why I need to plug in again and again. So, again, maybe revisiting what brought you here today. Why embark on this practice? Why spend the time, the commitment? Know that for yourself to get clear. And even as you define that for yourself, in the words that you use, the phrase that you use, the phrases, you can keep noticing. So connecting the dots. We're thinking, we're feeling, we're opening, receiving to that what brought me here question. And we're aware that we're sensing our body. We're sensing, I feel an interesting shape in the back of my body. And I'm pausing with this and sharing it because it's a real relevant part of this practice of getting clear, of getting accurate. What is the way I'm calling this? I'm labeling it. And if you're functioning from a unclear or misinformation, I'm not coming up with a story or anecdote, but when you're operating on uh, faulty information, so like a map that's not accurate, you're not going to get where you need to go to. You can really get lost. It's and not that being lost is a bad thing, but you're not going to get to where you intended to go. Hmm. That's an interesting little anecdote, isn't it? Because uh, as the avatar or the god Ganesh in the Hindu pantheon of gods, he represent one of his representations or his what he stands for is removal of obstacles. But sometimes it is said in their texts that he actually places obstacles in your way, and that's what you need. So, so my little story fell apart. So all to say, it is helpful to get as clear as possible. And just check that out for yourself. So my back body feels soft, and it feels like this nice concave almost like just like this bowl shape, and yet it feels like it's part of this supportive trunk of my torso. And so as I'm reporting that, I'm sensing the words, I'm sensing that you're out there listening, I'm sensing the room that I'm in. And it seems like that's a lot to be monitoring, but it's just immediate. It's just our nervous system and just be open to taking all that in. And the words I'm giving to it is sort of the next step. It's not the primary experience anymore, but it's honoring that primary experience. Ah, that's part of what it is. It's not just the right information. It's a honoring and even celebrating that. Okay, so let's make a transition after that long arriving. Perhaps you're clear on why you're here today. Let's come onto our backs. And sometimes as I get farther away for some reason from the monitor, I'm going to try to enunciate so I'm clear. This is going to be a very small movement as usual. Sometimes we do bigger movements on our backs, knees bent, maybe something under your head if that makes you most comfortable. Make sure that I'm visible. Well, yeah, so placing your feet on the ground and arriving here. So we took all that time to arrive where we were, and now we have a whole different position. I think this will be adequate so you can see me. You don't need to see me, but perhaps some of you, as you're watching, may want to first watch and then do rewind. You have that luxury, those tools. And so here, as we just open to how we feel our body touching the ground, we're connecting dots. We're connecting the soles of our feet, and maybe several dots around the big toe mound, the toes, the outer foot, front of the foot, the heel, at several parts, the center, the inner, the outer, the right, the back. Whereas there's the lift up in the back of the foot toward that backbone of our heel. Perhaps like me, here and there, you'll take a deeper breath. And so again, we're connecting the dots to the breath, the feeling of the breath, and the various locations and qualities of it. Perhaps I just felt a kind of highlighting of my lower rib cage as I breathed that last breath. Perhaps you're feeling your shoulders and upper back shoulder blades enjoying this position with perhaps less support under your head than you do as you sleep in your bed at night. And then place your hands on your lower belly, or maybe one hand on lower belly, one hand on upper belly. In this area of the lower belly, where you can feel the two front hip bones, the as is, ASIS. There's a long name for that. Don't need to know it right now. In the center of the belly, softer pubic bone down toward the base of the pelvis, navel at the top there of that lower belly area. Just feel in there toward the back of it. We've got the sacrum, the triangular bone. I like to think of that as sort of our own sacred place. The intersection of so much, the umbilical cord where we were nourished from our mother in the womb, and the intersection of the spine with the legs, the organs of elimination, the organs of reproduction down here. Oh, the intersection, not just the spine, yes, spine, lower back, hips, and a lot of possible movement. And take for a moment your imagination to see a golden ball inside here. That's an image my teacher Russell gave me. I think of it. When I first heard it and taking my own advice of golden ball didn't fit for me quite. I kind of like that ball of rubber bands or a water balloon because I felt like it was a more oozy shape. But as I worked with it, the golden ball image really grew on me, a smooth ball. And just imagine that ball. So use the image that works for you. Um, and let that ball roll just as we do in a pelvic tilt, where we imagine the ball is the initiating movement. I'm mirroring it with my hands, which you can do in front of the belly. I think it's a thing they do in Qigong and Tai Chi sometimes, this mirroring with the hands. And I'm going to let my hands go, and I'm going to just focus on allowing that movement to feel as smooth as possible in this intersection of so many parts. I was mentioning the bony intersections, but along with those bony intersections are many soft tissue, muscle, connective tissue, protective addings, tissues, and the softness of the organs, of the large intestines, of the vessels of elimination, reproductive glands, and let the movement be as small as possible. And now feel another way of connection, all those different parts and different textures, but also feel as you're noticing the movement just in this bowl of the pelvis, this pool, notice how the outer hips feel, notice how that movement translates into the legs and feet. And I'm going to come up and talk you through as I'm seated, but you continue on your back. I just want to make sure I'm really audible well. And as you're on your back, and just continuing. Oh, let's do a pause. We've been doing that for a while. So now just pause and rest your body, perhaps lean your knees against each other in a way that's comfortable. In the pause, we come into that stillness quite easily. There was a lot going on. I was spewing a lot of words about about your possible experience and where to guide your attention. Notice, notice, notice what textures you feel, how the breath feels. Perhaps the energy, an energy of more peacefulness has come over you already, just with that little bit of movement. So that first movement was a with the in relation to the upright body is a vertical movement. And then now we'll take a horizontal movement. And perhaps again, place your hand or hands on the belly. Maybe even place your fingertips, each hand on the same side, front hip bone, anterior, superior iliac spine, something like that. ASIS, as is. And imagine now, just imagine first, that the ball starts to roll a little to the left, back to center, a little to the right, that golden ball or that water balloon. And without letting your knees and legs go side to side, they might a little bit, but just really keep them steady. Let's isolate the movement to just let one hip get heavier, let your right hip get heavier, and the left hip lift a tiny bit, maybe just unweight. You don't even make space under the hip, just it unweights. And then let the ball roll to the left. So left hip gets heavier, right hip lighter, and so, without moving the legs, there's a movement in yoga we call the windshield wiper movement. And this is not what this is. That's a wonderful movement. It's different. It's more of the leg hip joints. active there. This one is more about that, the sacroiliac area and the connections in the lower back, those intersections. So make the movement if you're really struggling with the legs wanna go, make the movement really small, like the amplitude of it very small and slow. That's how when we can learn better when we just explore in a slower, smaller, more focused, less area that we're traversing. Perhaps you now might notice something happening in the jaw or the connection of this movement into the spine. There's a little twisting of the spine. I'm just going off screen a minute. Keep this side to side movement going. Mhm. Really gonna mix my colors up here today. Feeling a little chilly as the air conditioning surges. Um, and so now pause, just let that be. So basically, we made an X across. We had a movement that was vertical, the same direction as the spine's length, and then horizontal across the axis, same axis as the hip joints and hip bones. And I get into these slow practices and I just lose track of time. Time goes so fast for me in these. So I'm going to segue us next as you're just savoring what you may be experiencing here, savoring the stillness already, the loosening, the way we brought our attention, this connection of our attention to our body, to our breathing, to our movement. This is the secret sauce here, these connections. And if you like, you can stay right where you are on your back with knees bent for the meditation portion, which is stillness and silence. Or you can segue by rolling onto your side, pushing into your hands and pushing up to seated, or whatever positions you chose. Just do them in a way that sort of not grasps, but holds on to the quiet we've cultivated. And re-arrive as we begin our gracious, it's just going to be about 6 minutes of meditation. I bow to you as we begin the journey. And so now, really, this practice is not so changed from what we've been doing the whole time here together in our centering and moving, that we've just let our mind open, let the mind open, and there's nothing you need to do. There's nowhere you need to go with your thoughts or instructions. Simply sensing that openness, that boundless. openness, timeless, boundless openness that is our very presence, is our very self. And it's unchanged, unharmed by any thoughts, fears, diseases, foods, weathers, dreams, joys, fires, dancing into the night. And again, as often as you might be drawn, as I mentioned at the beginning, by a thread or many threads that take you out of your actual experience to some virtual experience, with no judgment about that. Again and again, come back to the timeless, boundless openness. Sometimes the response of, yeah, but comes up for me like, yeah, all that I just said is so great. But what about when your shoulders are aching and any minor adjustment or relaxation just doesn't help? Naming that just briefly, honoring it, and then just sensing that bigger picture and come back to tending to the need that is calling to you. But for now, we come back again and again. A few more breaths together in this practice. And I bring my palms together in front of my heart and bow to you, bow to my community out there, Sun and Moon community, my other communities. And in the bow is also a bow to myself, to this practice. Those are my words, and you may share those things that we share many universal gestures and meanings like that, but see what your own are. You're welcome to, as I always suggest, stay in meditation longer or continue some movement. But it's very helpful to mark our transitions, our thresholds. And I'm going to share with you something I'm going over. This will probably take a couple minutes. So if you don't have time, I'll see you next time. But I wanted to share in the purpose of this practice and the sort of what I see happening here. I've shared that often on Sunday mornings, there's a podcast called Hidden Brain that explores our neurological system, how we learn things, what's happening in our growth as learners. Um, and it's always really interesting. Usually, I think he has one person, and there's a theme. This morning's theme was something like this woman who's studied what we get enthusiastic about, how to get enthusiasm in students and herself. She herself was I guess these days we'd call it like somebody with, probably label her as somebody with ADD, or she pretty much dropped out of school herself. And it's a great story how her parents supported her and the way her education continued. But so yeah, it's on NPR. You can probably look up Hidden Brain in in your podcast um, app. Um, and one of the things she said about what she noticed kids were given a problem to work with and set up with the kids she works with and studies, and that there was this when there was a pause. So you know how sometimes with enthusiasm and with our in our own thinking, when we're addressing a problem or addressing something, what we do need to do next, we tend to come in with all our various thinking tools and all the files of knowledge, and maybe even look up things. And what's easy to forget is that time to just stare out the window, or to even this gesture, I think, is about this mudra is about making space for what next and what else is factors in here. And so that is a conclusion that the person who codified this method that I use, use so much about naming, um, and I actually should give more space around that process. When I was talking about how interesting my back felt, a little different, and there was a certain softness to it. It's really helpful to clear the space. He called it, Eugene Gendlin called it, clear the space and make space around it. Just kind of zip it to really feel. Let the thing speak to you that you're observing. Let the wholeness, let the collective consciousness come in. Let the information that's in the ether. And it's also something about, I think, that allows our network of our nervous system inside of us to coalesce and or gather the information. Anyhow, that's part of why this is why that pause, why the stopping and observing is so important. But I also believe for myself, and I'm still also exploring the truth of it, is that just for itself, that that one very worthwhile purpose of sitting in these practices, of doing these practices, is just to appreciate the timeless, boundless openness, awareness for itself. So I thank you for joining me on that journey. It's a precious journey, precious and ordinary. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Have a great week. Check out sunandmoonstudio.com. Oh, I promised to let you know when the last day. I think I'll be here next week. Is it the 31st? Drat, I'll put it in the notes. I don't know if we're in session or not. I am not broadcasting anymore. I used to do every Sunday, but if we're not in session, I won't be here. In that case, I'll see you in 2 weeks. But I may be here next week. Or if I'm not, try one of the older videos, even from many of the other teachers that are here on our YouTube site. Ciao, ciao. See you next time. Thank you so much, all of you who joined.